Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down the absolute masterpiece that is Arabasta. And today, we're on chapter 200.
Chapter 200 is titled Mizu Luffy, or Water Luffy, and it is exactly as ridiculous and as brilliant as that sounds.
Oh, it's an all-timer. We're talking about a plan so dumb it circles all the way back around to genius. Luffy takes a warlord's grand, intricate scheme and just spits on it, literally. I remember reading this for the first time in Shonen Jump and just losing my mind. You spend chapters watching Crocodile be this untouchable, calculating mastermind, and then Luffy just decides to become a human water fountain. It's perfect.
It's a moment that perfectly defines Luffy as a fighter. It's not about having the most complex strategy. It's about finding the most direct and often most absurd solution to a problem. And it also gives us one of the most significant character reactions we have seen in this entire arc, from someone we least expect.
It is an absolute banger of a chapter. Look, if you want to be here for every single time Luffy weaponizes his own stupidity for the cause of justice, you should probably plant a flag on our channel. It's the only way to make sure you're on the ship when we set sail each week.
Let's get into it. The clock is ticking in Alubarna.
10 minutes left until the whole capital square goes up in smoke. We cut back to Usopp, Vivi, and the crew, and the panic is real. They're trying to figure out how to stop the cannon shot that's going to set off the giant bomb in the clock tower.
And Usopp, ever the marksman, is doing the logical calculation. He's in his element here. He's thinking tactically. A 5-kilometer blast radius means the shooter must be positioned at least 2.5 kilometers away to survive. He's putting himself in the mind of another sniper.
And you gotta give him credit. That is super smart. He's breaking down the problem based on logic and self-preservation. That's what a normal person would do. That's what a sane person would do. He's thinking, okay, if I were the one making this shot, where would I have to be? Which is exactly the kind of tactical thinking you want from your sniper.
But Vivi knows Crocodile better than that. She has lived under his shadow for years. She has studied his methods, his cruelty. She immediately shuts it down. She says the shooter could be right next to the cannon, because Crocodile is absolutely the kind of man who would order his own subordinates to their deaths for the sake of his plan.
And that is just a cold, hard dose of reality. You can see it land on Zoro and Sanji. Oda draws their faces with this grim realization. They're pirates. They're used to brutality. They fought men like Arlong who ruled through fear. But this level of detached cruelty, using your own people as disposable ammunition, that's different. That's a different level of evil.
It's the difference between a pirate crew and a criminal syndicate. Even the most brutal pirate captains we've met so far, like Arlong, had a sense of camaraderie with their fishman crew. They were his brothers. Crocodile doesn't have a crew. He has assets. He has a corporate structure of disposable employees, and he is the CEO. And assets are expendable. Vivi understands this because she understands that Baroque Works is an extension of his will, and his will is absolute and without sentiment.
It totally reframes the threat. They're not just fighting a strong guy. They're fighting a system designed by a sociopath. And right as they're processing this, a Baroque Works agent tries to jump Vivi from behind. A Billions agent probably thinks he's going to be the one to get that big promotion, but he doesn't even get a word out before Zoro and Sanji just intercept him. A flash of a blade, a blur of a leg, and he's on the ground.
They didn't even seem to be looking. It was pure instinct. There's no panel of them turning around, no exclamation point over their heads. They felt the threat to a crewmate and just reacted. It feels like our first real taste of what will eventually be codified as observation hockey. They are so in tune with their surroundings and each other that a threat to one of them is a threat to the entire organism.
That's the bond. It's like a reflex. You don't think about pulling your hand from a hot stove, you just do it. Someone threatens Vivi and their bodies just move. And then they look up and there's a whole mob of Baroque Works goons on the rooftops, all saying the same thing. Kill Princess Vivi, get a promotion.
It's a feeding frenzy. Crocodile has turned his entire organization against this one person. He's weaponized greed. He knows that by putting a bounty on her head within his own organization, he creates a swarm. It's not about sending one elite agent. It's about overwhelming the target with sheer numbers. Any one of them could get lucky.
But he made one mistake. He put them in the path of Zoro and Sanji. Sanji, cool as a cucumber, lights a cigarette and turns to Zoro asking him how much time he's going to take. The classic rivalry starting up even in the face of an army.
Zoro's response is perfect. It's not about one-upping Sanji in that moment, it's about the mission. We have to make every second count. He's focused on the clock. He knows they are the shield that let the others complete the objective. And then they turn to this army of assassins.
And just say 2 seconds. 2 seconds. The sheer unadulterated confidence. It's not a boast. It's a statement of fact. It's an efficiency report. You are an obstacle. Clearing this obstacle will take 2 seconds of our time. Then we will move on. That is the essence of the monster trio right there.
It's a promise, and the most brilliant part of this is that Oda doesn't even show us the fight. He just trusts us to know it's handled. The perspective shifts to Nami, Usopp, Chopper, and Vivi escaping with Pell, while in the background, you just know absolute chaos is being unleashed. By not showing it, Oda makes it feel even more impressive. It's so trivial to them that it's not even worth panel time.
2 seconds later, Zoro and Sanji are walking away from the carnage, telling the others to go on ahead. The problem is just solved. Man, I love them so much. It's one of the coldest moments in the entire series. Just pure, unfiltered badassery.
But Vivi is still worried, as she should be. She voices the reality of the situation. Even with Zoro and Sanji clearing a path, 10 minutes to find an unknown location in a city under siege is an impossibly short amount of time. The tension is just ratcheting up with every scene.
Meanwhile, at the palace, the main event is starting. Round 3. Luffy versus Crocodile. And King Cobra is right there, helpless and forced to watch it all unfold.
Crocodile is in full villain monologue mode. He is oozing arrogance. He's taunting Luffy, saying that even though Luffy figured out his weakness to water, knowledge isn't the same as strength.
He's reestablishing his own perceived superiority. He's got that classic villain arrogance, but it's earned, right? He's beaten Luffy twice, left him for dead twice. From his perspective, Luffy is just a gnat that keeps getting up. He calls himself one of the 7 warlords of the sea.
And Luffy's response is just perfect Luffy. He says, "Then I'm the 8th god."
He doesn't care about the title. He doesn't care about the world's power structure. Warlord? Fine. Then I'm a god. My title is bigger than yours. It's such a simple, direct, childish way of saying your status means nothing to me. It's a complete rejection of the political system that gives Crocodile his power and authority.
It completely short-circuits Crocodile's entire worldview. Crocodile operates within a system of power, titles, and influence. The Warlord title is both a shield and a sword for him. For Luffy to just dismiss it, to not even understand or care what it means, and to invent a more impressive-sounding title for himself on the spot, it infuriates Crocodile because it shows that Luffy is playing a completely different game. And Cobra is just stunned to see this kid standing up to the man who ruined his country.
And Miss All Sunday is there, just watching, always watching. She tells Cobra that Luffy is a pirate and that he'll be able to live a little longer.
Okay, but let's break that line down. What does that actually mean? On the surface, it sounds like she's mocking Luffy, telling Cobra not to get his hopes up. Sure, he's plucky, he might last a minute or two. But is that all? Or is there a hint of something else there? We know she's a student of history. She is an observer. Her presence in the scene feels incredibly important. She's cataloging everything. Perhaps she's not just mocking him, but making a cold, detached observation. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a test. She's saying this to Cobra to see his reaction, to gauge the hope Luffy inspires. Her motivations are the single biggest mystery of this arc.
Cobra recognizes him too. He says Luffy is the one who brought Vivi back. He sees the hope. He doesn't see a pirate. He sees his daughter's friend, the one who accomplished what his entire royal army could not.
And Luffy, done with the talking, just throws a punch. No more games.
Crocodile dodges, of course. His senses, or whatever early version of observation hockey he has, seem incredibly refined. He grabs Luffy's arm and starts to use his Suna Suna no Mi power to suck the moisture right out of him, just like he did in their first fight.
Luffy forgot for a second. He's all fired up and he makes a mistake. He kicks, misses, and has to pull back. He immediately grabs his water barrel, takes a huge swig, and pours the rest over his head. He's literally dripping wet, ready for round 2. This is the new game plan. Simple, direct. Get wet, stay wet.
And he throws Crocodile's own words back at him. He says Crocodile told him that a devil fruit gets stronger depending on how you use it. This is so key to Luffy's character. Luffy learns. That's the thing that makes him so terrifying to his enemies. He's not a strategist, he's not a genius plotter, but he listens. He absorbs what worked and what didn't, and he adapts on the fly. He heard what Crocodile said in their last fight and went, okay, bet. He internalized that lesson and is now turning it into his own philosophy. He's not just using water, he's using Crocodile's own hubris against him.
He then unleashes a Gomi Gomi shotgun, a flurry of punches that look like they're all coming at once because of the after images. It's a great visual, showing his speed and power. He's trying to overwhelm him, to land one of these dozens of wet fists on him.
But Crocodile is a warlord for a reason. He's not just going to stand there and take it. He counters with Desert Spada, a blade of sand that just carves up the palace floor. The scale of his power is immense. It's not a punch or a kick. It's an environmental attack. He's turning the very ground they stand on into his weapon. Luffy dodges, but it shows you the kind of destructive force he's up against.
Crocodile taunts him again, saying Luffy always uses the same old techniques. Gomi Gomi this, Gomi Gomi that. He's trying to get in his head, to portray him as a one-trick pony, predictable and boring. He's trying to dictate the terms of the fight, to make it an intellectual battle, because he believes he can't lose that.
But this time is different. Luffy just runs straight at him and smacks him right in the face. A clean shot, no named attack, no wind-up, just a straight, waterlogged right hook to the jaw. He tells Crocodile he's totally confident this time.
And that hit connects. It sends Crocodile stumbling back. This is huge. For the first time in this entire arc, Luffy has broken through his guard and landed a solid, water-soaked blow that does real damage. And it wasn't a special move, it was a simple punch. Crocodile was so busy analyzing the techniques he was complaining about that he left himself open to the most basic attack of all. It's brilliant.
It feels so good to see. After all that untouchable arrogance, just a simple, wet fist to the jaw. It's the great equalizer. Luffy then tries to end it right there. He picks up the whole water barrel to just dump it on Crocodile. Maximum saturation.
A very direct solution. Classic Luffy. But Crocodile isn't down yet. He uses a move called Sabels. He creates a massive, localized sandstorm right inside the palace, a sand tornado that fills the entire throne room.
The power is just off the charts. It nearly blows Luffy away, and he has to struggle just to hold on to that precious barrel of water. This is a warlord going all out. He's not just making sand blades anymore. He's creating a natural disaster indoors. It's a terrifying display of power and control.
And Crocodile is laughing. He sees Luffy desperately clinging to that barrel, and to him, it confirms his theory. The water is Luffy's only trick. It's his lifeline. In Crocodile's mind, the fight has been reduced to a simple equation. Luffy plus water barrel equals threat. Luffy minus water barrel equals defeated. If he can just separate Luffy from that barrel, he wins.
He's telling him the fight is no different from before, that once the water is gone, Luffy is finished. He thinks he has Luffy completely figured out. He's laid out the tactical map and he sees Luffy's every move. He's so confident, so sure he understands the limits of Luffy's strategy.
And this is where the chapter's title comes into play. This is the moment. This is where Oda flips the entire script. Luffy looks at him, looks at the barrel, and says, "I'm different from last time."
And then he just drinks it all. The entire barrel. The whole thing. Oda draws it in this hilarious, grotesque way. He just unhinges his jaw like a snake and chugs his entire supply of his only weapon. The water just flows into him like a river.
Crocodile is stunned into silence. He can't comprehend what he's seeing. His tactical map is on fire. This move is not on it. Miss All Sunday is watching, completely captivated, her eyes wide. Luffy's stomach swells up like a giant water balloon. He looks utterly, profoundly ridiculous.
It's the ultimate Luffy brain move. Problem, I need to carry a heavy barrel of water and fight at the same time, and my enemy is trying to take the barrel away. Solution, become the water container. It's so simple, so absurd, and Crocodile has absolutely no framework for how to deal with it. His logical, cynical mind cannot process this level of cartoonish practical insanity.
And then he springs a leak. A little fountain of water just starts shooting out of his mouth. He can't hold it all in. It's the punchline to an incredible joke.
And Miss All Sunday laughs, a genuine, out-loud laugh. Not a smirk, not a chuckle. She laughs. This is the first time we have ever seen her break that cold, detached archaeological persona. She is genuinely amused by this ridiculous boy who just drank a barrel of water to punch a sandman.
That laugh is everything. It is one of the most important moments for her character. It tells you that Luffy's sheer force of personality, his id, his unpredictability, is a kind of power that can get through even to her. Crocodile's world is one of plots, betrayal, and grim determination. Luffy's world is one of freedom, absurdity, and earnestness. In that moment, seeing Mizu Luffy, she gets a glimpse of that world and it cracks her perfect composure. It's the first true seed of her eventual defection. Crocodile, on the other hand, is just enraged.
He's screaming. He thinks Luffy is making a mockery of their fight. He's shouting, asking if he's joking, if he understands the situation at all. To Crocodile, this fight is the culmination of his life's work. It's serious. It's epic. And this rubber boy just turned himself into a parade float. It's a deep, personal insult to his ego.
And in that moment, Crocodile reveals his own weakness. He cannot understand someone who doesn't operate on his level of cynical, serious plotting. Luffy's absurdity is a weapon he has no defense against because he can't take it seriously, and so he can't counter it effectively. He's so blinded by rage at the method that he fails to see the danger of the intent.
And then it happens. While Crocodile is ranting, Luffy just aims his head and that little leak becomes a high-pressure jet of water right in Crocodile's face. Mizu Luffy's water gun. He soaks him.
He follows it up instantly, no hesitation. Gomu Gomu no Bazooka! He hits the now solid Warlord with a massive two-fisted strike that connects with his entire torso.
And as Crocodile is sent flying, crashing through the palace walls, leaving a Warlord-shaped hole behind him, Luffy gives him the final word on the matter. I'm always serious. This is it. This is peak One Piece. The silliest strategy imaginable, executed with the deadliest possible intent. That is our captain. That is super.
It reframes everything. The goofy water belly, the leak, it wasn't a joke. It was the plan. A plan only Luffy could have conceived of and executed. The humor is the delivery system for the blow. And it worked.
It worked perfectly. He took Crocodile's greatest strength, his logia intangibility, and just turned it off. He found the off switch and he became the off switch. What a chapter. What an absolute masterclass in shonen battle writing.
It really is. And to bring us back down to earth, Oda's author comment for the week is just a fun little aside. He said he went to a pet shop, saw a bunch of weird reptiles, and now he wants one, but he's not sure if he'd actually take care of it.
That's hilarious. You can totally see where all the weird and wonderful animals in One Piece come from. He's just a guy who likes cool lizards. You can picture him seeing a weird iguana and thinking, what if that was the size of a bus and could carry people across the desert? It's nice to remember the dude writing this epic is just a normal guy geeking out about the same stuff we do.
It's a good reminder. Even in the middle of this life or death battle for a kingdom, there's a sense of fun and wonder underneath it all, which is really the heart of the series.
All right, that was chapter 200, Mizu Luffy, an absolute classic. Now, before we get to predictions, we want to know what you think. What's your favorite moment where Luffy used a strategy so dumb it was actually brilliant? For me, I think this might be number 1, but using a zombie as a sword in Thriller Bark is way up there too. Let us know down in the comments, we'd love to read through them.
Okay, predictions for Chapter 201. I'll start. I do not think Crocodile is out of the fight. That bazooka was massive, and it was a critical hit, but this is a warlord who has been scheming for years. He's not going down that easily. I predict he gets up, but he's furious, and more importantly, he's unfocused. He's going to stop fighting smart and start fighting angry, which will be his real downfall. He'll start using bigger, more destructive attacks that lack precision.
I like that. That makes total sense. His ego is shattered. For my first one, I think Luffy's Mizu Luffy form isn't done. He's used the water to hit him, but now I think we're going to see a brand new named attack, something that incorporates the water sloshing around inside him. Maybe he spins and sprays water everywhere like a sprinkler, or maybe he uses the weight of the water to make a punch heavier. Gomu Gomu no water cannon? Something like that. He's going to weaponize the slosh.
That feels very plausible. My second prediction is that we will cut away from the palace and back to the bomb plot. I think we'll see Pell and Vivi's group find the clock tower cannon, but it won't be guarded by a mob of billions. It will be Mr. Seven and Miss Father's Day, the sniper pair we were introduced to way back at the start of Baroque Works. They are the perfect agents for this job, and it will confirm Vivi's theory. They will be the ones assigned to the suicide mission, ready to die for the cause.
Oh, that's a good poll. I totally forgot about them. That makes total sense. Okay, my second one. We're going to see what happened to Zoro and Sanji after their 2 seconds. I predict they cleared the area, no problem, but in the chaos they got separated or took a wrong turn arguing about which way the others went, and they are now completely, hopelessly lost. They'll be bickering about directions when they stumble directly into another major problem, maybe even another one of the officer agents who stayed behind.
A classic Zoro and Sanji moment. I can absolutely see it. For my final prediction, back in the throne room, I think Cobra will use the moment while Crocodile is recovering to speak to Miss All-Sunday directly. Crocodile is out of the room, having been blasted through a wall. It will just be Cobra and her. He will appeal to her intellect, asking her why she, someone who seems to value history, is helping a man who wants to find an ancient weapon, a tool of mass destruction that erases history. It won't make her switch sides immediately, but it will plant a significant seed of doubt that will bloom later.
Bro, that would be heavy. I love that. A direct ideological challenge. All right, my last prediction is all about the clock. We have 10 minutes left at the start of this chapter. A lot has happened. I predict by the end of Chapter 201, we will see a shot of the clock tower and there will be less than 1 minute remaining. Oda is going to push this right down to the wire, cutting between Luffy's fight and the race to stop the bomb to maximize the tension.
He almost always does. The ticking clock is one of his favorite tools for building tension, and he is a master of using it. Those are some solid predictions.
We'll see who's right next time. Until then, thanks for listening to Inherited Dawn. We'll see you on the next tide.